All right, welcome back to the Steven De Cuba's podcast. Today is an exciting day because today I have the one and only Fallon Carter with me. I am honored and I really feel honored and privileged that I have you with me today, Fallon. I met you back in Aruba, and the moment I saw you for the first time, I was like, wow, this beautiful human being. Not only you are super talented, not only you are an incredible speaker, but you also have this beautiful energy and this beautiful smile that we can see today as well, that I am obsessed with. So I am a big fan, huge fan, and the moment I saw you, I was like, I want this lady, beautiful lady, on my podcast as well. So I want to start first by thanking you for giving me something that you will never get back, which is your time. So I really appreciate it. And I want to make this episode really just two friends catching up with each other, and we get the opportunity to talk about the wedding industry. But also, I wanted to be a podcast episode where it is more educational as well for my listeners that are also in the wedding industry. So what I listen to a lot of podcasts, and one of the first questions they ask is like, tell me a little bit more about you. So I don't want to start there, Fallon. I actually want to start with a really random question that I also got of one of my listeners, and that random question is, can you share a story of a time something went wrong at a luxury event or a wedding, and how did you handle it?
Well, I first want to say thank you. And the honor is completely all mine to be here. The moment I got your email, I was like, yes, schedule, absolutely, would not miss it, because the feelings are very mutual. When we first met, I was like, oh, we are definitely going to be friends. This is it. It's happening. Thank you. So I am very excited to be back here with you. And to answer the question, I'm like, where do I start? Because there's so many times where things went terribly wrong. I'm trying to okay, I had a wedding. I think I kind of ran away from this wedding, actually. I had a wedding during a hurricane in Atlanta, in Georgia. And it went terrible because it was a hurricane. It was raining. It started to flood underneath the tent. We had to move all of the guests inside because we couldn't run power because of water, obviously. And I just remember how deflated I felt. Like, this is terrible. Like, this is a terrible experience. But at the end of the day, they got married. The wedding happened before the rain started. And we were kind of through dinner when things went left. If I could have changed it, I would have. But I can't control the weather. Unfortunately, that is out of my scope. So I did the best that I could. We troubleshooted the best that we could, but no one died. So I say success.
I love it. And how did you feel that moment? So take us back to that Fallon, that moment's like, oh my God, there's a hurricane coming. Like, what were going through your head?
Everything that was going through my head was like, I just want to leave. I want to go away.
I just want to run away.
I want to run away. I want to get in a car. I want to go away. But I have to fix this. This is my job here, is to make it so that it makes sense. So we went to the catering partners. Hey, we've got to do this. But it really is like, how do I solve the problems that I can? There are so many things out of my control, which we will get to later. But right now, it's making sure that people are safe and that they have shelter. Let's start there, right? And then we'll figure out the vendor situation. But everything that's going through is not like, oh my God, this is so terrible, what am I going to do? It's, how am I solving the problem, period.
I love that. Okay, so we got one side of the coin. Can you name the most memorable experience, the wedding? You're like, oh my God, I wish I can do this 10 more times. Anything that comes up right now. I'm putting you on the spot.
You are. I was like, oh my God. I did a wedding on the Cape. It was, I want to say, is that the one I like? I like that one. I think seeing it all come together, and because it was a private estate wedding, so we had to build everything. And I was just, again, it was another, I'm just tired. Everything is out of me because the build out was so heavy. But when I got the bride kind of like down the aisle, I was like, that's usually the point where you're like, I actually like this. This is great. Like, she's down the aisle. It looks beautiful. The pictures it's going to hit. Everyone looks spectacular. The sun is out. It's the perfect setting. Everything is aligned. And you're like, I could keep doing this. I could keep doing this all the time. And then another one comes. You're like, why do I do this?
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So now give us a short introduction about you. Tell us who is Fallon Carter and how did you get to where you are today?
I'm still trying to figure out how I got to where I got to today, other than the grace of God. But so my name is Fallon Carter. I have an event agency. I specialize in destination weddings. And I started my company in 2012, fresh out of college. I had never done weddings before. I was a political science major. I was going to be a lawyer. But I ended up helping a friend do a wedding in Paris. And c'est la vie. I was like, oh, this is dope. I'm never going to do anything else. This is it. But not all weddings are the ones like Paris. So you learned quickly. I quit my job after that wedding. I decided I'm going to figure out how to become a wedding planner. And I literally just kind of faked it until, success started to hit. And voila.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So your first wedding in Paris. I actually just, I listened to one of the podcast episodes that you were interviewed, and I heard that story too. Tell me about the dress. I heard something went really terribly wrong with the dress.
Oh my God. Okay, so I think there was some not self-sabotage. I think someone sabotaged the dress. That's the part I usually leave out. But since I'm in good company, I usually just tell people, oh, it was shipped and it went bad. I was like, no. I think someone intentionally ruined this dress because, backstory. And I was like, keep this between us, internal. All right.
Give us the tea.
Internal. So my friend who invited me to the wedding, we went to high school together. It was her sister getting married to a Nigerian, only the last son, one of those like big Nigerian weddings, right? Mm-hmm. And the sister of the groom made the bride's dress. So the sister had like a fashion brand and was just kind of getting it off the ground, right? So when we got the dress and we opened up the box, back in the day, and this was what, 2010, 20, yeah. So there were pickups and big, like, it was just a big pickup, but the pickups were iron straight. And they were like really crispy and pleaty and not like a wedding dress should look, which we all feel like someone intentionally ironed this dress straight when it was supposed to be bouncy and flowy and voluptuous. And we knew it was bad when we were in Paris. We took the dress to a seamstress in Paris and we were like, well, she can fix it. And the first words out of her mouth are like, oh la la. And we're like, oh no, she can't fix that. She has looked at this dress and said, y'all out. Like, good luck. I wish you well, because I can't do anything with that. The ooh la la was so disgusted. She was like, what is this? I was like, ooh, child. So anyway, I just tell people the dress was shipped. It was ruined, yada, yada, yada. But I think there was some sabotage in the way of the success.
Oh my God. Oh, wow. What a way to start your journey.
That part. But isn't that how all kind of crazy journeys start? Like, how did you start your career? I'm sure it wasn't like butterflies and rainbows and like, let's start shooting weddings.
No, at all. I actually shot, my first two weddings were the first one was my cousin's wedding, and the second one was my aunt's wedding. So I was like, okay, we're in a family, there's no high expectations, let me just go and do the thing. But what do you mean we have to schedule time for photos? And what do you mean about first look? And what do you mean I still need to like figure out how I take photos of the reception decor without anyone being there? And then I have to also take photos with everyone around. I'm like, whoa, what is this? What did I get myself into? No, you definitely just learn by trial and error. Yeah. And we're still do, right? Every single day I make mistakes, and every single day I learn from those mistakes. Like, that's how not to do it. Let's do it differently next time. Yeah.
And the Cape wedding I did, It was like they had Biden staff, like they had presidential Secret Service was there. Like it was a major key wedding, right?
Wow.
And at the end of it, it was my first time doing a big tent wedding. And this was what, a year ago, 2 years ago? I think a year ago. I did not realize you have to schedule someone to come and pick up the trash. So there's mountains and mountains of trash bags that the caterer has left that I was like, oh, I wonder who's going to pick that up. I think I'm responsible for scheduling a dumpster pickup. Oh, look at that. Like, and I'm as seasoned as I am in my career, and I'm still like, oh, someone's got to pick up the trash. I wonder.
I wonder. Yeah, little do we know.
Little do we know. You will always keep making mistakes, and you just keep learning from them.
Definitely. I love that. Oh, wow. So, okay. You started back in your wedding in Paris, and look at you right now. You're documenting luxury You're not documenting. You're planning luxury weddings, and I want to start by defining what does luxury mean to you, because luxury can mean different things to different people, right? So, in your eyes, what does luxury mean when it comes to wedding planning?
Ooh. I think I think a lot of people think luxury means a price tag.
Yeah.
When I think luxury means that's also a tricky question. In my mind, it means the level of hospitality you're providing your client, but also the level of hospitality that they're providing their guest. The more that you're doing for the guest experience, I think is what creates a more luxurious experience for the guests. And of course, there's levels to luxury now. There's ultra luxuries, yada, yada, yada. And so it's like you find that balance of like, how much are we doing for other people? I think that identifies what luxury is. I think there's a difference between walking into a Zara and then walking into an Hermes store that makes it very clear how your experience is different, which identifies the level of luxury that you are experiencing.
Yeah, I love that. I like to define it as a feeling as well. Like what does this wedding, what feelings can I get from this wedding? And not only from the wedding, but also working with the couple. From the first getting to know each other call or meeting that we do, like the vibe, like how they treat me as a professional too. Yep. Of course, there's the price tag that is attached to it as well. We're not gonna just ignore that piece, but it's more like the feeling. That's how I like to define it as well. Like the feeling of they trust me as the artist, like you do you, Stephen, we just trust you. You know?
Trust is, I think, the major player word when you're offering a luxury service. People trust you, kind of like everything that you say, everything coming out of your mouth is Bible to them, which it's valuable. They're purchasing value through you, which is luxury. And I will say I've had clients who have a big bankroll, but they're not luxurious. Like they're not kind. They don't value me. They don't, they still want something that is like kind of simple, or rustic is not my favorite word. But so there's levels to, just because you have a high price tag also doesn't just make it luxury.
Ooh, now you touch like a little piece I want to get into. So how do you deal with like not ideal customers? They still pay you, they still want you there, but they're not treating you like, oh, I want to work with you again tomorrow and then the day after.
Now I've gotten to a place where I just stick them with an associate. I'm like, someone else manage this. And now I've kind of gotten my business to a place where I'm only working with the clients that have a certain aesthetic. Yes, the dollar sign might be there, but I want someone who's like Fallon's eye. I appreciate, I trust, I love it. The clients who are like, I just want something simple, but yes, I'm still going to pay you $200,000. This is, I put someone else on that because they don't necessarily value my intellectual property. And I wouldn't want to waste it on someone who isn't going to value what I'm bringing to the table. Even though they want an excellent event, my associate can still do an excellent event, but I'm going to bring a superb excellent event, and you don't want that. You want something regular, and anyone can do that.
What? Drop the mic. Excuse me. I love that. I love that. It's like I love how you see it in the perspective of like, yeah, I'm not gonna rob someone else that really wants to work with me by me working with you. Like, no, there's an associate. Here you go. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I love
but
that.
But also I take every single project so seriously. Even the ones that only are low, that might not have the $500,000 or the $1 million budget. I take every single project as seriously as any of them. And I dedicate myself so much to making sure each component is spectacular. So I don't even want to waste my mojo on that. It's like I really want to focus on the people who want me to give it my all, period.
Oh, I love it.
I love
it. Of course. I love that. Yes. And I think, and this is one of the topics that I want to talk about too, which is like the pricing part. And I know we've mentioned some pricing here, but also it's like when I get a client that is asking for discount, I'm like, well, I'm so sorry. I cannot give you discount if this is out of disrespect for other clients that are paying full price. I'm sorry. Yeah. This is my price. I stand behind it. And if I'm not within your budget, I totally understand. And I appreciate and value that you've taken the time to reach out to me and have this conversation. But if I'm not your photographer, that's okay. And that's beautiful. And I think that's a beautiful place that we get the luxury that we can say this. But what would you say to, for example, I know that a lot of my listeners are wedding photographers that also want to tap into the luxury marketplace. And most of them maybe are not there yet. How do you build that confidence, I would say, or how do you build that name that like, this is my price point, I don't discuss my pricing?
Well, I think there's a few things to talk about here when it comes to pricing and finding confidence. Even as experienced as I am, I still seek confidence every single day. And I am prayerful for continued confidence and continued courage, just because as you start to level up, you're still going to be the newbie somewhere. It's like the freshman that's going, it's like freshman going into college or whatever it is. You're going to be starting at some level all the time. So I think it's remaining really clear on the client that you're seeking and really clear on the people that you want to work with, and also identifying, do you really want to be in a luxury market, and are you able to provide an actual luxury service? And I think it's understanding your service offerings. If you want to charge a higher price tag, what is coming with that price tag other than you just saying, I'm marking up my price? Well, why? Did you learn a new skill? Did you learn a new editing software? Have you traveled to a new destination and now your portfolio's grown? It's what are you doing to now continue to mark up your price? What's so special now about your service offering? And usually that's experience. So I think there's a lot to, and experience then builds confidence, and then there you can take it to the next level. But I would say if someone's interested in right now editing their pricing, look at your portfolio and look at those of your counterparts that are charging what you want to charge, and do you see alignment? Do you see synergy? Is there a world in which you might second shoot for someone who is at the price point that you want to be at, to maybe learn from them or seek guidance from them? So those would be initial suggestions on if you're looking to kind of scale up.
I love that. And what would you say like are key elements that a photographer should be focusing on when it comes to the client experience? Because I believe this as well, and I love that you're speaking about it, because it's the same thing as when you're going to shop at at Gucci and versus going to shop at, for example, the Zara. At Gucci, it's a different interior, it's a different experience. Yeah, Prosecco, give me two. And then you go to Zara and then you find some clothes on
Things
the ground.
Are on floor.
Down.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think it's, and at the same time, they're both selling what? Clothes or shoes or whatever. So it's the same thing, right? The product didn't change, the brand and the experience changed. So what would you say? I mean, I think you can speak the most out of from a wedding planner perspective, but I know that you work with a lot of photographers too. So what are the key elements that you've seen that think, yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about when it comes to elevating the client experience?
It's really tricky because I'm like, when I work with photographers that are at a, $20,000-$30,000 price point, and the photographers who are charging $5K, $4K, it's really just, to be honest, sometimes it's just portfolio. It really is nothing more than access, which is unfortunate. And it's the access to which these photographers are able to shoot the clients that have 5 different looks and that are wearing Gucci for every single occasion versus your photographers who've only happened to have access to the people who are at all-inclusive resorts. And I think it's trying to somehow bridge that gap of access by maybe connecting with wedding planners that are working with the couples. And I think that's that trickle-down effect that you're seeking. Maybe you're not in the market where you're attracting that client and able to get them that luxury service just because it's a lack of access. So it's, who are you networking with? Who's in your circle? Who are you riding with? Are these people that are in the places where you're trying to get to, that are shooting the Paris wedding, the Lake Como wedding? And I truly believe it comes down to portfolio. But also not to say that I have seen some really great artists in Europe that are charging a fraction of the cost that we're shipping in because they're cheaper than my American photographers and their work is still spectacular. But they don't know their value, which is interesting. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but...
No, you are. I think I love this. And I think one of the things that you've touched upon that I really like is also the access and the connection that you have. Well, for example, if I'm taking photos at a all-inclusive versus taking photo at the Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, or the Four Seasons. So what would you say, for example, as a wedding planner, what are like qualities or characteristics or traits in a photographer that would make you recommend that photographer to a client, or you would say, you know what, this is the photographer that I work with, period. And if you want to go with someone else, you can go with someone else, but this one is the one that I trust. What would make that photographer stand out for you? I want to work with Fallon. How do I get there?
Flexibility is probably the first thing. Not someone who's rigid in their system styles. And usually I'm coming up with some crazy ideas and I want a photographer who's like, yeah, we can ride with that. Not a lot of rules, not a lot of, I can't do this and I can't do that, but someone who wants to be collaborative and wants to make it work. Sometimes when you're working with people who have volume weddings, they have very strict boundaries and very strict guidelines of, this is how we do it. We need this done by then. I don't like strict stuff. Like, I want to flow with you. I want to vibe with you. And usually the photographer, I want to connect with my couple. So I need them to be chill. I need them to be laid back. I don't need them to be too overbearing. I don't want them to be so focused on, it has to be posed this way. It's like, no, let's chill and vibe, bro. Like, it's good. Everything's good. So I guess I want someone who has more of a relaxed approach, but also a confidence like, oh, we're going to get the shot no matter what happens. And I'm constantly seeking someone that I can trust to do details and that I can trust to capture everything that I need, but also capture everything that the client needs without me having to be overly manipulative of them and create shot lists that are so ridiculous that I want to trust someone. I'm walking away and I know you got it.
So for like a newer photographer has never worked with you and they want to reach out, what are they like? They stalk you on Instagram, send you different reply to your messages. They send you an email. Like, how do they get to you? What would you say? Or like, for you, is it like, do you see the portfolio? Do you want to like, maybe I want to work with you first to see what's the client experience that you provide? Or how would you approach that?
So most photographers, when they reach out to me, and I love this approach, is they'll send an email saying, hey, like not too long and lengthy about, oh my God, I adore your work. It's like, okay, sure. But it's like, hey, you're cool. I think we'd vibe. Here's a link to my work. I'd love to be considered for projects. I look at every single one of those emails and I will click on the gallery. And if it resonates with me, then I'll respond and say, hey, love your work too. When a project comes that is aligned, I actually add them to my vendor list, depending on where they are located. Because I'm getting emails from New Zealand, emails from everywhere. I'm like, I literally have spreadsheets for different destinations and I'll categorize who these people are. So if I ever get a wedding there, I'm like, oh, cool, I'll call them. But also it's really, really helpful to understand pricing. And a lot of times if someone's bringing me a great deal, I'm like, great, I'll get them on this next one. But if someone's, it really just depends on the information that you're getting. If I vibe with your gallery, I'm going to be in it, like, period.
What do you mean with when it comes to the pricing? So do you work on commission base with the photographer, or how does that look like?
No, because I'm not commission based, but I'm a percentage planner. So I take a percentage of the client's budget. So I don't take the money from you, technically.
I see.
When I hire you, the client pays your rate, and I take 15% of what the final budget is, or 20%, or whatever it might be. And so whatever your price is, I don't care. I like transparency. So when I see a photographer's work that I like, I'm like, oh, I wonder how much this is. And I'd rather you just send me a whole pricing guide and a gallery at the same time.
I love that. I love that. So one of the things that I teach also in my coaching program, the High End Click for wedding photographers, is that we need to build connections with wedding planners. So taking a look at the wedding, so the customer journey, a bride and a groom, or groom and a groom, or bride and a bride will start first with the date. And how do they get the date? Is by booking the venue. And from there, either you come into the place where it's the wedding planner, and then after that, then they start thinking about wedding photography or videography. So if we as photographers can meet them where they're at by, for example, having connections with venues or with wedding planners, we're ahead of the game versus 100%. The other photographers that are just posting on Instagram. So I think it's cute to be posting on Instagram and like hopping on all these trends that are working. Cute, nice, great for followers and likes. But followers and likes don't pay the bills.
They don't.
I approach it more in a strategic way, like let's build connections with planners. And how important is it for you to have like, so do you work with like photographers right now that you always recommend? Or how does it look like for you right now? When it comes to like, I got a new client, do you recommend the photographer, or usually they come with their own photographer? Can you like paint the picture a little bit here? And the reason why I'm asking this question is because I've got some of the photographers in my coaching program that ask me, I don't get that little piece of building connections with a planner yet. And I'm like, for me, it's like, it's so logical based on the customer journey, but I want to hear from your perspective as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a few different ways, just because some of my clients are coming to me and their Instagram feed is already filled with so much photography work. They're like, I like all of these people. And I'm like, all right, let's help narrow it down. But I would say that when I'm working with a couple, most of the time I am picking someone that's based on who I think is best for them, usually based on someone I've already worked with. Destination is my specialty. So most of the time I'm in new spaces and places. So yes, I try and find someone local, but most likely I'm shipping someone and I'm bringing someone with me, unfortunately. But fortunately for me, because I can guarantee the pictures, right? I have a relationship with them. Yeah. But all of those relationships started somewhere. They started at zero. They started at, we've never worked together before, I'm going to give this person a shot. And I'm always continuing to give people a shot as I continue to grow my business. Some clients do come with me and they say, like I have a client right now who's like, I already have a connection with a photographer. They've shot me before. I really want to work with them. And they're actually not a photographer that I think has great work. I actually don't like it. I can't stand it, actually. And I'm cringing at the sight of these photos. And I actually am going to bring my own photographer. And that's usually the opportunity where I will hire someone that's local, that's newer, that I can afford, because I'm not going to pay 20 grand to fly somebody out there to shoot my details. So that's usually when I'm working with someone new that I want to test out. I'm like, hey, can you come to this wedding? I don't really need you for the bride and groom. I need you for details. I need you to capture me behind the scenes, my team shots. And that's usually how I'm like, oh, these pictures are fire. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to give you a whole wedding. But it usually starts with me bringing on someone to shoot the little things, to be like, let's see how you do. And do they show up dressed well? Do they have good vibes? Do they have good energy? Do we click? Can I leave them alone and the gallery is fire when so that's my test run, is shoot the details for me, and then let's see if I can grandfather you in.
This is gold. This is gold. Photographers, if you walk away with something, walk away with this. This is gold. Make your planners happy. And I always say this. When I approach a wedding, I'm shooting for the couple.
Yes.
I'm shooting for my vendors. And I'm shooting for myself. I'm approaching it 3 different ways. For myself, for the couple, and for the vendors. If I can make the vendors happy, who do you think they're going to recommend after? Right? And who do they, like, what's the most powerful asset that they can walk away with from a wedding? Photos, content, because the more content you put out there, the more demand you get for your work. So if I know, which I still don't get it, why all not photographers don't get this. It's like, if I have this power in my hand that I can simply say, hey, Fallon, we shot this wedding together. Here's the gallery with all of your detailed photos. Feel free to use it how you like to. Hey, Fallon's going to be, Steven, favorite guy. I love this photographer. So that's a way. I think we hit the nail on his head, and I hope that the photographers get this. But I want to talk about also, because you've been featured in Vogue, you've been featured in Bright's magazine and Harper's Bazaar. How does a photographer get there when it comes to publication? How does it work to get a wedding or, for example, a stylish shoot published on a magazines on this level?
Yeah. So it's rare that a style shoot will get published unless you have a relationship with the editor. And I would say having relationships with those who are editing and choosing the weddings is the best first step that you can do. And even I still find it hard to get weddings that I think are beautiful published. So it's everyone, there's a lot of scrutiny, there's a lot of decision making, and you have to imagine what the receiving end, all of these magazines are probably getting a floodgate of options. And it's like, what's going to bring yours to the top, right? Usually, in my opinion, the reason that I think mine have made it is because there was a cultural component and also attire. So if there's something if everyone's blonde, it's going to have to be amazing. If you might have a little bit of a brown person, it's also going to have to be amazing. But sometimes they're looking for an elevated cultural kind of something dope, something that's unusual, something that's unique. And it's like 2 blonde people. It's like we know this one, and they're skinny and they look like Barbie and Ken. It's like, all right, then the fashion's going to have to be over the top, or they're going to have to be famous. So usually what I hear is the attire has to be spectacular. And a lot of the photographers that I work with, we collaborate on the dress shopping. So we are talking prior to attire is coming into play, because that's how you get published. Is she wearing, Monique Lhuillier? Is she wearing a Vera Wang, Oscar de la Renta? Like, these are the names that people want to publish. Is she wearing something avant-garde, Vivienne Westwood? Like, what's the attire? Usually it comes down to just the looks and location. So I don't know if that's helpful, but
that's super good. But then how do you get those connections?
I wish there was a roadmap to that, just because the editors also change as much as like I change my clothes. But it's like, in all honesty, it's like going to places where they might be. So going to your summits, going to your conferences. It's like, however you can get there, where the people in the room are that you want to connect with, that's how you go find them. Because you can't just Google them. You might try them on LinkedIn, but I would say go to conferences where media outlets will be. Also consider hiring a PR agency. And also, I know there's lots of photography. There's like these photography groups now where you reach out to one person and it's like 5 different photographers that they represent. And I have a friend of mine who's a photographer, and she just signed on with one of them, and they actually help with submissions and publishing and getting your work out there. So if you don't think you can do it on your own, consider working with an agency that might be able to help promote you until you're able to stand on your own.
So good. So good. I love this. I love this. Get yourself into the room where you can connect with these people.
Yeah.
right? Like, get out there. Stop being on your phone on Instagram.
They're not going to come and knock on your door and deliver you
No.
pizza, and they're not out. They're not here.
Oh no, I didn't get that memo.
The same as we're online dating, we need to be going outside to bars to try and meet. It's the same. I mean, if you're married, great, but it's the same for trying to meet anything. You have to go outside your house and go to the places where they are.
Yeah, same thing with wedding photography. It's not that easy. If it were easy, everyone will be doing it.
That
right?
part.
Yep. Okay, so I wanna move a little bit towards because as I told you, I was listening to one of the podcast episode that you did, and then I love when you said that you love being a business owner, and you would.
I do.
You will start more businesses, and I love this. And one of the things that we talk about in my coaching program as well is wearing different hats. And sometimes we can wear the photographer hat, which is great. The creative part, go take photos, go be creative, go edit your photos, do your own thing. Great, love it for you. But I don't want my photographers to be starving artists, because you can be really great at taking photos, but if you're not great at being a business owner, then you're just gonna be a starving artist. So when it comes to putting that creative hat down and put that CEO hat on, can we talk more about how you distinguish this? And I know that you mentioned, because I stalk you, of course, before this episode.
Love you too.
And you talked about building processes, just like McDonald's. Everywhere you go in the world and you go to McDonald's, you will know it's the same McDonald's. Some people will argue it isn't, but it's the same McDonald's. So building business processes in your business that helps with scalability. Where do you start? Tell us a little bit more about your journey, and how can we learn from your journey? Maybe just you telling our story, we can say, I didn't even see it that way. And I love that with your story we can learn as well.
Oh my God, where to start? I was like, I have so many things about where to start. I was like, get a lawyer, one. Step one. Get someone who helps you with your taxes, two. Get someone that books keeps or manages your books, three. I think it starts with identifying, outside of being great at your job, what's the next best thing you're great at? And then how do you outsource and delegate the things that you aren't good at? I think the best way to scale is you have to actually remove things from your job list or your task list, then instead of piling them on and trying to hike up the mountain solo. Building a team, creating advisors, people who can coach you and that you can go to for support is necessary to scale, because you can't scale a mountain if you got a million things on your back. Like, you have to kind of move freely. And I would say understanding, one, how your business runs is extremely important to making it function without you there. And I'm still kind of really in my business. So it's like I have not mastered my SOPs, if you will. And I've been straddling like 3 other businesses right now that I'm trying to get off the ground. And I was prayerful about it. And it was like, you're not going to be able to fly any other business until your main business runs without you, period. So if you're a photographer right now, your inquiry process needs to be smooth, like how your clients get to you, how the contracts are done, how you get paid. That needs to be so streamlined, you don't have to think about it. It needs to be automated. There needs to be a workflow, and you have to have a great CRM, whether it's Dubsado, Honeybook, pick one and get it done. And if you don't know how to do that, YouTube University is amazing, but time is extremely valuable. And if you can, outsource that. I love Fiverr. I use Fiverr all the time to find miscellaneous freelancers that will build me a workflow, input it, and make it work. And you're paying someone in India a couple of bucks, and it's amazing. Like, we live in such an amazing time right now. ChatGPT has saved my entire life. So we have so many resources with Loom, with all these AI tools that you can do everything right now to create a foundation. But it really starts with, how does your business run, and how can you let it start running without you?
Ooh, wow. I love it. I love it. Because here's the thing, one of the things that we cannot maximize is the amount of hours that we have in a day,
That part.
and nor the amount of energy. And by the day, we're only getting older, aka we're getting less energy. So I say the same thing. Beyonce has 24 hours in her day. Adele has 24 hours in her day. Fallon has 24 hours in her day. I have 24 hours in our day. It's not a matter of just let's work more, let's do more, and let's drink 5 extra coffees.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a matter of like, where are you spending your time? Something that you cannot max, or you cannot. We only have 24 hours. We cannot get more than
Correct.
that. So where are you putting your time? It really defines the opportunities that you have to grow in your business. So I love that we touch on that.
Yeah. But also keep in mind that Beyonce and Adele have hairstylists, nutritionists, makeup artists. They have resources. They have people that do other things for them so that they can free up their mind. And it's really about creating freedom in your mind so that you can be more creative. You can think about your process more clearly. But if you're thinking about being the photographer and the CEO, you cannot do both well. You have to outsource some of those tasks.
Where it's scary for you when you were at the point like, okay, I'm gonna outsource this piece of the company, like how was that for you? Because
Right
I remember
now.
when I was yeah. Tell me go
Right
ahead
now.
go ahead.
Right now, I am truly trying to step away, and I'm working with financial advisors to figure out exactly how does this happen? How much money do I need to have saved to do this? And because I really want to focus on my other businesses. I love planning weddings, but I've kind of gotten to the space where I've kind of planned as much as I think I can. Like I've planned the $1 million. I've planned that. I was like, I've kind of gotten to I'm seasoned. I've done it. Like I'll do some more, but I don't want to do as many. And now I want to build a team of people that make Fallon Carter run like a steamship, like so smooth, like beautiful. And I want to keep producing beautiful events. I just don't want to be there anymore. So I want to focus on other things. And now I have to really refine what are the things that are important to me as far as creating an excellent event. How do I communicate that to someone who isn't me without being hard on them, without being mean, without being like, how did you mess this up? So it's finding the calm and trying to also be a leader when I've been so used to being the doer and the beer and the like in it. And don't worry, I'll do it myself. I'm trying to release that and say, I will trust someone with my baby to go out in the world and represent me. That is hard. That is hard.
Especially when you have your name and last name on it, right? Yeah, because
Yes.
we are our
Blessing
own
and
brands,
curse.
and blessing and a curse. Because personal branding could be the most powerful thing that you build, but at the same time, is the most difficult one to build as well.
Yep.
Because it's you, and it's only
It's you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. All right, as we're starting wrapping up, I have one final question that I got from a wedding planner in Aruba.
Ooh.
Do you have any plans on doing a destination wedding in Aruba?
Of course I do.
Anything coming up?
No, I
Is
don't
there
have
anything
one
coming
booked.
up that you have on this? Okay.
But I'm like, absolutely, sure.
Okay.
Always.
I love it. And when it comes to, like, for example, you fly into Aruba and plan a wedding, do you do the planning? Do you do the coordination? Do you do the designing? Do you do everything? How does it work for you? Someone in Aruba, I want to get married at the Hyatt, at the Ritz-Carlton, at the St. Regis. I want to bring Fallon Carter. How does it look like for you?
So, I mean, now I do everything from planning, production, event management, design. But I would say now my focus is on the design front. So my team manages, someone's talking to the stationaire, someone's talking about the power drops and the tenting and all the logistics, and someone's talking about the music and entertainment and the flowers. I'm focused on what's the color palette, what are the details that we're bringing in, what's the stationery, what are the sides of the tent looking like. So I want to get into like that. And that's why I was like, I love running my business, but I also love the creative side of it only.
Yeah.
So I want other people to talk to the client, other people to answer their questions about what size dress and yada, yada, yada. I want to focus on how do I make this thing so spectacular and how do I get a wow from every single guest the moment that they land and they're walking out of the airport and there's a VIP service to meet them and there's specialty drinks in the car. It's like I want to think about every single touch point of that guest experience, and I can't do that if I'm doing all the other things.
Yeah.
And when I think about Aruba, my welcome was absolutely spectacular. And I loved every single day of being on that island. I was like, how do we do this again? But it's really just, I would have to come down to Aruba. I have to do lots of site visits, meet with everyone and find the right vendors and have those meetings and say, how are we doing this together? And what, I already know what Aruba is about, but how are we bringing that Aruba vibe, that Aruba culture to every single touch point for these guests the moment that they touch down.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, in case you need a photographer, I know a really good guy.
Really? You don't say. What's his name again?
Starts in an S and finishes with Steven.
Not Steven. I love that.
Oh my God. I love. Anything
you're a
else
delight.
you want to... No, you are. And it has been an honor and privilege to have you here. I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your knowledge. Is there anything else that you want to share or anything else you want to leave for our listeners or photographers or wedding planners or someone that is just like, I just want to hear how does the wedding industry works. And I think this is super interesting. I like these two's vibes and I love to be here. Anything you want to share?
Just give yourself grace. I think a lot of times we get down on ourselves that we're not someplace where we think we should be, especially myself. And you have to remember everyone has their own path. Everyone has their own journey. And you don't know what else someone else is going through. So give yourself grace. Be patient with yourself and be patient with the journey. Every struggle that you're experiencing is creating strength and it's teaching you a lesson. And as long as you are mindful of those lessons, you won't make those mistakes again. So embrace every single step, even the mistakes, and learn to love to fail.
Oh, drop the mic someone. Drop the mic. Fallon, thank you a million times. It's been a pleasure and much love to you. Thank you for being here. I will make sure to put all of your details in the description of this podcast episode. And again, thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Until next time, guys.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.